So now we've made it to Walla Walla. There is so much you could say about Walla Walla. It's such a fun place to go, and the Marriott is quite wonderful.
Just about 4 blocks off of the main drag, I'd say. Yeah. Really good, just tucked out of the way, quiet, easy place, gorgeous hotel.
Yes, really clean, and it feels a little luxurious while not breaking the bank.
Small room, not really room to dance in the room, but we got all of Walla Walla to see, so that was okay.
You don't need to dance in the hotel room at Walla Walla.
That is very true.
There's a lot of opportunities. First up would be Bonsu, which has a wonderful bold red Malbec. We did not bring any home, but we look forward to Bonsu for their incredible Friday night 8 to 10 live music. 2 years in a row, they did not disappoint. We saw feedback there the first year, and this year,
oh, I'm going to have to look up the name. It was a feller's name.
Yes, we will definitely put a post on them because they were fantastic. So
and they did a lot of cover songs, kind of a blues feel, did some good rock.
Yeah.
Just really a good time band. A lot of people dancing, nice little outdoor courtyard. Everybody was friendly, easygoing. It was a good time at Bonsu.
Yes, and I think part of what is so fun about them, because their music wasn't necessarily my favorite, although they were fantastic, it was fun to see them so enjoying playing their music, which is something so cool to see when you just see the musicians rocking out and just really loving what they're doing, and they did. So that was super fun. There is no shortage on winery tasting options, and so a couple of our favorites would be Contos. Let's see. Every single wine at Contos is worth tasting.
Yes.
This one is the 2019 Syrah. Incredibly bold. What do you always say? Chewy.
Chewy. Yeah. This is one of the comments I make about really wanting a big red wine is I almost want that whiskey feel with the wine taste where it goes in your mouth and you know you've got something.
Yeah.
And you swallow it and you get that flavor and you get that warming and the flavor lingers and you almost feel like you could be chewing the flavor in your mouth as you swallow.
Yes.
This Syrah is all of that.
And I'm never good at remembering their stories, but there's a really neat mythological story that goes along with this firefly logo, dragonfly logo that they have, and all of the names of their wines kind of follow along with some mythology. So there's some really fun stories that go along with the names of their wines and some of that. It's also really fun because 2 years in a row, the person serving our wine was part of the generations of people who have come up through the Contos the winery family. So that's really fun, and you know they're just a little more invested in the experience, which makes a difference.
And they know the stories behind what one of the wine names had something to do with transparent, blah blah, like a dragonfly's wings. One of the wines was named after a boat that was owned by one of the previous generations. It was a sailboat with a fire pit on it. How cool is that?
Right.
And just wonderful stories that pair well with the wines, and enjoying the story and the wine really makes the tasting special.
Yeah, it's part of the experience, which is really cool. And not to mention, their tasting room is really fun. They have a fantastic patio. They do live music too. We unfortunatally haven't been able to
once
make
a
it
month,
there.
I think.
During their live music events, but that's kind of one of our bucket list things that we want to do while we're in Walla Walla. But their tasting room patio is so fun. It's enclosed so that you get a little bit of that shade, but they have these really fun, like rainbow colored parasols that are hanging from the ceiling. So it's just a really sweet, whimsical, lovely experience.
While we were there, it got pretty windy for a little while.
It did.
And the parasols were swinging and swaying and spinning, and it just adds some color and some life. We were the only ones on the patio at the time.
They kept asking us if we wanted to come in, but we're Western Washingtonians, and we like the rain and the wind.
It was 82 degrees and windy.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is perfect.
It was wonderful. I think it added to the experience.
Yes.
It was really fun.
Definitely check out Conto's Cellars if you're in Walla Walla.
Yes.
One of the other wines.
So one of the other ones that is just dear to our hearts is Gard, which is a Swedish.
I think it might be Norwegian. It's an old Scandinavian term.
I thought it was really Swedish
for farm.
Yes, but Gard means farm. So that's fun because we have a little bit of ancestry in Sweden, which is really fun. So fun to have like a wine that follows that. This one is
Thunderstone. And there's a story behind the name Thunderstone. I'm not going to go into it here. Catch us sometime, or go to Gard and ask about it. This wine, again, all the Gard wines were good. We did the tasting, and this one actually wasn't on the tasting list, but we asked about it, and they said, yeah, we can get you a little taste of that. And I mean, as soon as it hit my mouth, it was like, this is the one. This is big. It's bold. It's warming. I do Christmas lights every year. One of my common statements is, this is a wine for after I've been putting up Christmas lights. A little bit cold, got on my wool vest, a nice big warm red glass of wine.
Was yummy. And again, the tasting room is very fun. They're very inviting, very approachable.
Inside
really, all the
tasting
wineries
room,
we were at were like that.
The inside tasting room at Garden Walla Walla features this giant bar that is 100, a couple hundred. It's this giant wooden bar. It has the giant tie-off rings on it for tying up your animals while you're at the bar. Obviously, they don't do that here in Walla Walla, but that's what it was originally from.
At least we don't think.
Well, yeah, not since we were there. But Gard, one of the really neat things is they are also a local Pierce County family. They've had graduates through Pacific Lutheran University, and not too far from PLU is this wonderful little restaurant and wine and beer.
It looks like a coffee shop. I think it was a coffee shop that they have actually changed to sort of a wine bar, cocktails, a light plates kind of place, and it's
208 Garfield
super
is
fun.
the address in Parkland, just off of Highway 7, and 208 is the name of it, and they feature Gard wines as one of the families from PLU who's in the Pierce County area, and they have the Gard Winery in Walla Walla. So there's a nice little tie-in there with locally somewhere to get the Gard wines, as well as the Walla Walla tasting room for Gard wines.
Yes.
I suggest checking out 208, and if you like the big reds, ask for the Gard Vaucluse, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yes.
It's a really good red blend.
It is really yummy. Our last one that we'll feature for our sort of main street strip of Walla Walla is... we have two. Sorry. Henry Earl was one of them. Really good. This one is a 2015 Cabernet Sauvignon. Definitely one of the more specific grape varietals you'll find most anywhere you go.
This is another one that is bigger than most. Really knocked our socks off. Mm-hmm. And the atmosphere there was great. They had a little musician playing out front. Just feller with a guitar. His name was Patrick. He did a little Beatles set, covered 2 or 3 Beatles songs. He did some John Lennon. Trying to remember who else. I don't remember right now. But it was a whole variety of songs that you probably know. Matter of fact, the next day we ran into a feller at one of the tasting rooms. It's like, hey, I saw you singing along with the music last night down there at Henry Earl.
Well, and we were literally walking down the street, and if you've been to Walla Walla, or if you haven't, it's just a really charming, there is a ton of shopping. We only went into one store because we're not huge shoppers. But if you like to do that sort of small town shopping, they have a lot of great little shops to peruse through. Tons of tasting rooms, but basically we walked down looking for a place to grab a small bite and some wine tasting, and we followed the music because that's what we do.
Yeah, and that's what brought us to Henry Earl, and the music was great, the wine was fantastic, and the food was spot on. It was the perfect place to stop.
And literally, you can follow the music in Walla Walla along the streets. You just follow the music, and usually you can choose a place to go based on that, which is really fun.
The last one we're going to feature from the Main Street stretch, and this is all the way down to the end of Main Street, is Bledsoe Wines. Some of you from the football world might recognize the name Drew Bledsoe. This is actually his winery, which you might be good at football, but do you know anything about wine? Well, apparently there's some family history to it. After football, his plan B was to come back to the family estate and run the Bledsoe Wines, and they now make some fantastic wines. The tasting room is very posh feeling. Definitely, they ask you, do you have reservations when you walk in the door? We're not a wine club member, don't intend to be, but they still took really good care of us. We did not have reservations, and got us a tasting of their red flights, which were all, again, really, really good reds. But this one, Stolen Horse, is a red blend, it's a red Syrah, that, like we mentioned, other Syrahs, that's a really big wine, that's a really warming wine. That's not something you just casually have a glass of wine while you're, well, you could if you wanted to, I would.
I call it punchy, and that's really not
I think
word in the wine world, but for me, it's kind of like, it's a little punchy. I really love, not
there's
punchy,
a spark to it.
Not like syrupy punchy, but like punchy, like it's like bold.
Yeah, there's a spark to it. There's something to it.
Yeah.
And so Stolen Horse is this one. If you're in the area, it's a great winery. I don't know if you should call the Great Reservations or not. We didn't.
We didn't. Actually, that's a really good point to bring up, because most of the wineries that you go into, they will ask, do you have reservations? We have basically never made reservations for a tasting room, and there's only one time that we were not able to taste somewhere. It was actually in Chelan, in all of our wine tasting, which is a lot.
But Walla Walla's got so many up and down the corridor that you just head to Main Street, and just start plugging along.
And we were there during a holiday weekend, and it really was never a problem.
Yeah.
They almost always fit you in. There's almost never a wait. In fact, it's a wonderful way to go get a light lunch and some wine in a touristy town when all of the mainstream restaurants are super busy with an hour wait. Go down to your local tasting room and get a small plate, or even some really wonderful...
A flatbread at one of them.
Yeah, really wonderful plates of food and some great wine, and it's not busy, which is really fun.
This is just kind of a good representative sample of some of the Main Street Walla Walla. We did a lot of tastings, but these are four that we just wanted to call out specifically as tasting rooms that were something we brought home, something that had something special, and gave us that big, red, bold, chewy, warming, hearty wine. It's like the beef stew of wines to me.
Yeah. So we are set for fall. But stay tuned, because we do have a couple more to feature.